Well met, lords and ladies, Jacob Butter speaking, and a warm welcome to this week's Walking Wednesday. It might not seem warm from this angle, but I assure you it most certainly is. And I'll be wandering off into the sun in mere moments' time. I did pick the shadiest route that I possibly could think of. I had to weigh the pros and cons between dealing with allergies, potentially, versus the heat. And you might think, oh, well, don't pick allergies in that case, given what happened to you last Walking Wednesday, or what was implying to be happening. Yeah, I mean, people will be aware of this. I got worse after that. They might not actually know the reasons why, though. Yes, it was heat related, but that was actually because that Walking Wednesday I actually filmed before the end of the day, as is normally the case. I'm doing that right now. I've got a time between the last class that I had, or at least, well, not the last class today actually, penultimate class, and then and choir, or the big choir rehearsal. So that's exactly what I did last time. Made it to the choir rehearsal, did the rehearsal, all of that stuff, fairly standard, and after that, during that, I was talking to one of the other sopranos, and she said that she was in the dessert competition that was going on. Which, yes, that was part of it. It was basically or Festival de Recetas Galegas or something like that. It's all about, there you go, another cultural Galician celebration, basically. And there were several things, including that competition. I did promise I would swing by towards the beginning, but I kind of got swept into not only that, but the rest of it. Because, yeah, it turns out that I thought it was going to be a case of like, okay, there will be some tambourines that are going to be playing, because that's also very traditional over here. I haven't talked about that, but that's true. And to be honest, the tambourine class have taken up not only our members in choir, but also including that soprano, in fact, but also our rehearsal space on certain days. So I want to see what all the fuss was about. I did. They were fantastic. There's just that yeah, that was not it. That was not everything. So the main thing that that caused me to not be able to make it to stream, or last Wednesday, was the fact that it was there was a workshop of traditional Galician dances. I think I mentioned this a long time ago, actually, that as soon as I saw them one time at a festival like 2014, I think it was, or something, I was like, hey, I want to learn how to do that. Never actually did, and now I have. So yeah, because the idea was, okay, well, anyone with zero experience, this is the time for you, and I will walk you through it, basically. And so, of course, I'm the one with literally zero experience in that matter. So I then went and yeah, I thought, okay, I'll give this a go. So they walked through the movements. We did a volta, which was in the round, basically. I demonstrate for you, but I'm holding a camera, so I can't really. It's mostly footwork, but there's some arm movement for balance, basically. Like we see some people like balancing like this. It's just basically their arms are there for support, not really for part of the actual movement itself. But yeah, there were like 4 steps in between those, basically, because there was 2 like lines as well. Then there was a jota, which was where someone if those same 2 lines where someone takes lead and does something a little bit more improvised in that same style, and then followed up by a volta again, and that's just how that goes. There was and then there was an agarrado, and that means holding. So that was basically their equivalent of, not really even slow dance, actually. It was basically the same tempo. But yeah, by that point, I was actually in danger of dropping sweat on my dance partner, who was one of the teachers who had a little bit of experience. Oh, because I mean, from her position, and I guess also mine, we were trying to encourage people to, you know, stand up. So I thought, hey, you know, if I'm doing it, you know, someone else might. And yeah, there were a couple of people who were convinced, but not really that many, to be honest. There's only so much social anxiety you can get. Who can overcome in an afternoon? Then again, I have been trying to help them with that very subtly for the past several months, but you know, that's beside the point. Yeah, they also did point out that it was well, I see the principal pointed out, oh yeah, it seems like it's only the boys are volunteering right now, the girls is not looking good for you. And it's like, I don't like when people do that, because like, well, I mean, it was never a competition between boys and girls anyway. It's kind of the same thing that happened when they asked for volunteers for to help out with auditions for university, when I was in university, and I was like, okay, would you want to go on to help out? We were all swamped with, you know, things like either Siren Story or whatever equivalent of that the other groups were doing. So not many people decided to volunteer. I was considering it until I received an email from them, I think, or maybe it was the announcement or something, saying how they only had girls signing up and that they were disappointed in the boys for not doing so. And then I think there was also, like, after that email, there was like an announcement from like from the head of department, kind of expressing the same thing. And I was tempted to have signed up for that until that email, because again, it was never a competition. You don't need necessarily to make the boys feel bad. You got your volunteers. What you need are, you know, the people. You know, you need human bodies and brains. What does it matter? So for that reason, I decided to completely neglect that and move on. But in their case, it was more of a, you know, of anxiety. I will say, you know, in the activity that I'm doing with them this week and also last week, that involves, again, presenting, but it's also I'm having them do weather reports to help practice the future tense. And I said that you could choose a map to have in the background so they can do the weather reporting, right? And, you know, so it can be anything. It can be, you know, a country, it can be, you know, a planet, it can be a fictional setting, a Fortnite map. I just have to be able to find it on Google Images. That was the only condition. So yeah, a lot of the boys, I think one girl did Fortnite. Some of them recently did like Hunger Games. 2 girls did Hogwarts recently, like today, in fact, and yesterday in the same class. But for the most part, I will say the girls definitely chose, you know, more like safer options, I guess. You know, a map of Galicia, a map of the town we're in, a map of Spain. Some of them ventured into, you know, things like other nations, like Brazil, for example, or I don't know. A lot of boys and girls talked about Peru, interestingly enough. So yeah, I don't really know. That's one thing that I noticed, but I chose to not point out because it wasn't a competition between boys and girls. It was merely an observation that I kept to myself, and I'm only saying now as a verbal example. So yeah, truly does not matter, but hey. But yeah, but like the end result of that dance thing, especially because like they kept on asking volunteers like more dances. There were, you know, like the Jota Agarrado, there were different things, and they went back and forth. And every time I waited, there was always one person who was on their own, especially if it was the teacher. So I was like, all right, fine, I will join you again, because you need an even number to pull it off correctly. So yeah. And here's where the algae start right as I get to the shade. You see? I'm compensating for both. Probably should have paused the video, shouldn't I? That would have been smart. But no. Okay, continuing. Yes, I forgot to mention. I should have filmed. I should have faced in this direction. You can see the ducks for a bit. Yeah. So. So yeah, after that was said and done, I was already starting to get my usual, dehydration headache, but it didn't actually go away after hydrating that quickly. And that night we were supposed to also film a Missions of Occulta episode. Now, for other reasons, Ghosty was also similarly indisposed, and also it was unclear whether or not BB had actually confirmed her attendance or not, basically, or availability, I suppose. So I never got a final answer on that one, because essentially Aiden cancelled the session, or rather he said, okay, if BB shows up at some point, then by all means I will return. And Ghosty said more or less the same thing, but by the time that BB showed up, Aiden wasn't there. So classic classic fumbling, I suppose. It was actually kind of funny, because basically because Emily took over stream that night. Thank you once again, Emily, for that. I had time to to get dinner, to recover. I mean, essentially to eat, because I wouldn't get a chance otherwise. Because we also wanted to start early, technically, because unlike Thursday, where I don't have class the next day, on Wednesday, that's not the case. I do actually have something on this thing on Friday now, but that's for the welding project, because that's been kicked into high gear as well, for reasons I will get to in a moment. But yeah, like what happened? Like I was like, okay, fine. After that, and I said, okay, fine. I'll get an early night. Seconds after I climbed into bed, BB presses the call button. I guess implying that everyone would immediately return after that and be like, okay, rather than like a message, because yeah, to be fair, that at that time in Discord, I am notorious for replying, hours later sometimes. So yeah, I got that, but again, Aiden wasn't there, so it wasn't meant to be. And by that point, I was like, okay, I just want to sleep, to be honest. Which is the same. Aiden and Vin have, Aiden has planned this session, but Vin apparently has approved of it so wholeheartedly that he says that we'll really start enjoying Occulta the next time, which could be one of two things, because I've been really enjoying it thus far anyway. But in terms of what Vin likes in terms of puzzles and mystery is a little bit more complex, for better or for worse, depending on the situation. So that'll be something to consider. I wonder if it's in character for Scooby to solve ciphers, or if BB's gonna have to just do that subtly. You never know. Maybe Scooby can get the right answer for the wrong reasons or something like that. Well, if that happens, we'll be sure to note that, because last time we did a mystery with Vin, or where Vin was involved, that's what was the case. Vin's not taking over as DM or anything. It's just he seems to have helped out with. Oh no, he said after session 5, because that's the one that he worked on. That's why. That makes more sense. But yeah, we'll see. On to the welding project, basically. That's another thing that I've been working on today. That's also been interesting. So originally the idea was that the hand-in date for that project was the 18th, because that was the final hand-in date apparently for everything, essentially. So that was the implication there. As for you know what, I'm going to pause right now because I realize I'm running out of camera space, and I'm gonna reconfigure. So 1 moment. Okay, and we're back. Yeah, I forgot to clear out space. So I think I was saying that the hand-in date was supposed to be the 18th. I found out yesterday from the welding teacher that apparently he needs to give them a grade of some kind by the 3rd, and has thus once again restructured how the project is supposed to work. I haven't mentioned what the project is yet, but now that it's fully underway, I could do so. It's a film project. I thought it'd be nice to make a short film with them, because again, it's a fun way to practice English, and the teacher was, you know, completely behind that. The first session I explained, you know, how films tend to get made, like what kind of like basic structures there would be, what would happen. I tried to arrange them so that they would be able to be, you know, screenwriters, actors, camera operators, a director if we wanted one. There is a director, you know. That's what I thought. Then the teacher got involved and said that they would all be screenwriters, because he wanted them to all work on something during that first lesson, because he didn't trust that they would go home and work on it themselves, which is fair. That is ultimately fair, and that's kind of, I can attest that now, because we started working class and they didn't finish it. We had a rough idea of like what scenes we wanted to do, basically, what the story was, and in those groups, that was, you know, they planned those scenes, and then we would work out. I told them we would work out casting sometime later, potentially, you know, yesterday. But because of that, and also because the welding teacher had to give them a grade of some kind in speaking, they now all have to say at least something in the film. A film that originally only had 6 total characters for a class of 20. So now they're multi-rolling. You know, they're no, they're not multi-rolling. I mean, like, they are, like, they're playing the same characters as each other in different scenes. There's somewhat of a refusal to work with to work outside of that group, because I said to them, oh hey, well, could you like pair up together, because this person's waiting for their group, so they can't work. Because like, oh no, it's just us 3. It's like, I know, but come on, this is meant to be a whole thing. So now there's a sense that they'll be graded, you know, individually, and that the film doesn't even have to be fully put together. Meanwhile, there's me trying to still maintain some sort of cohesion after everything has spiraled. I'm not directing this time, technically speaking. I did offer some suggestions in terms of shot composition and whatnot, but that's basically it. I'm cursed with live action projects, I swear. The most successful one I've had is the is Phineas Dakota. That was like 7 years ago, so, you know, not exactly the best track record. So that's what we were doing today. Today was meant to be like full filming day, although now we have determined that we can use some of the other break times, and that's why I have something on Friday, because Friday break time is now filming time, as well as Thursday, which means I'll miss another choir rehearsal, but again, I'm mostly covered on those, and again, if I get back today, I should be able to deal with that. I don't know whether or not I'll be able to show you the project. I did say to them that I would love to have it on my channel, but that's a matter for them to discuss amongst themselves, and if they want to all give me permission to do that, then by all means. I'm now not sure what it's going to look like. Because some of them I also promised that I could edit the ghost we need into the scene. Other people now have decided to play the ghost, because there was no communication between everyone, because they were all told to split up and start filming immediately. One teacher said it was like to, you know, embarrass them quickly to keep them to high gear. And there is some merit to that, because they did start working very quickly. Well, some of them did. Others tried to, well, others hadn't fully translated their scripts yet. I didn't tell them to write them in Spanish, but they did anyway. I warned them it was a waste of time. They did it anyway. So Some of them had to finish that on the day rather than what they should have done, which was not hand the scripts into the teacher and then work on them up during the times, you know, in between lessons. And others were basically trying to find ways to circumvent learning their lines. Some of them even made cue cards, but they tried to study the cue cards and they took forever for them to do so. Then we got called 5 minutes before finishing as two groups were about to film, because we were all filming at once, but we couldn't make noise while each other was filming, so we had to take turns anyway. It was a whole complete and utter mess. Partly born out of necessity, partly born out of the modeling teacher has never been on a film set before, I'm guessing. It's really interesting, you know. It makes me think of Drama Club, actually, and how, you know, we had like a full map for that, and then first person, you know, Aiden hates first person, and fully constructed sets rather than the usual, you know, TV sets or something. I'm thinking if I ever do a Minecraft roleplay, I will most likely do some combination of TV sets just to help along with that time, if it's cinematic, that is. If it's first person, then full construction, because that's kind of what you have to do. It is very interesting, you know, I'm cursed in terms of projects, in terms of how they turn out, but people ought to listen to me more in terms of what we can actually save on, or what will help us in the long run, even if it seems confusing at first. I guess in that sense, got to earn, you know, their trust in that regard, and that's for a different project another day, different Minecraft project. Speaking of projects, by the way, as it turns out, Bon and KW have talked about the Quest of the Rising Sun and Clomai combo that was going to be made. Is now not going to be made, because KW has decided to take Clomai in a different direction, always considering doing so. And because of that, we it kind of frees us up a little bit. Again, I haven't talked to BB about it extensively. Her internet's still bad, but everyone else is very excited to like do something with that, even if it is, you know, a simple radio drama. Although who knows, it could be a Minecraft roleplay, you know. Or it could be a Minecraft series, you never know. MCTV. If we do go through with it, we'll probably, yeah, again, it would be much easier just doing one show rather than two. That crossover idea was always risky. Although I guess the risk we didn't account for was IPs being withheld after the fact and having to deal with the separation between those. But hey, silver lining. So that's kind of it, basically. Godot stuff happened in the week. I mean, kind of, but most of it's been me preparing, because since I take it my last week of teaching, it also means I'm just dealing with like a bunch of like other, you know, stuff in between, travel purposes and whatnot. And honestly, now I'm not even sure what date I'm leaving Galicia, because the 18th was the hand-in date, and if not, then I could leave sooner, technically speaking. I don't know, so I guess we'll find out in due time, which will be sometime next week, where maybe I'll talk more about boring admin stuff rather than interesting cultural festival stuff. We shall see, but for now, please leave a like or dislike, because your opinion matters. Subscribe if you haven't done so already, and on that note, until next time, farewell.